Hi, today I will show you how to create a new GameSparks project and how you enable a nice and sweet device or guest authentication for your users. So here we have to create some new entries inside our game data. We need a player table, a public data table and a private data table to store the display name and the username of your new guest. Here under Cloud Code, inside the authentication response, we have access to the player object of our player, because authentication response is after the device login. So GameSparks already had created a player object inside the GameSparks collection, and so this is the point where we create the new entries inside our three tables. In authentication response, we will check if the player exists. If he doesn't, then we create a new player object. For that, we need some new modules. First, the player service module. Here you can see we need access to the GameSparks API, and in all modules I create an object with the same name. The reason for that is GameSparks doesn't have always the perfect autocomplete, but when you create an object inside your modules, you have access to the autocomplete, and the functions are visible. Here the next module is utilities. Also here we need access to the GameSparks API. Here's also an object with the same name as the module, and what we need here is to generate new random IDs. We will use them for the names for the entries inside our private and public data. For the player entries inside our player table, we will just use the by GameSparks created the player ID. So just a simple random ID generator here. And we need also functions to get access on different table entries and to save data on specific table entries. So here a simple function to get an item document based on the table name and the provided ID. We have to check if the document really exists. There's always the possibility that an table entry doesn't exist with a given ID. So in that case, we have to return a null value. The third function here in utilities is save item, just to save the changes on a given table entry. The next two modules we need is there for the specific tables. So we have a module for the private data and for the public data table. Also here in both we need access to the game data service by GameSparks, and we will also create an object with the same name as the module. In both modules we will just create a simple function to create a new entry inside the table. Okay, now we have access to the different modules and can create the table entries. First, the doesPlayExist function. We just check if the document we get from the getItem document function set utilities with a given player ID is null or not, and if the player document is null, we have to create a new player entry. So here you can see we generate two random IDs for the private data document and for the public data document. And we will store the IDs inside the player entry. Now, here in create public data, we have to check if this new player is guessed by a device authentication or not. We can see that with a display name, by a device authentication, the display name is always empty. In that case, we give the new player a guest name and append a number behind that. And we have to update the user's details, so the display name does not only show up inside our table entry, it is also here inside the collection under display name. Inside the test harness here, we check if everything is working, and also we check if the correct table entries are generated by our new functions. So everything is working. And now here we see the new display name. So okay, I will upload the code for that on GitHub. In the description there's a link to the code. I hope the tutorial helped you a little bit, and maybe I see you in the next video.